Hey, I'm Jeremy Drobeck with America First Home Mortgage, and I am here today to teach you about HUD Homes and what it takes to purchase a HUD home. This is a little bit unconventional presentation here. It's similar to like a webinar or live event that we do, but I'm getting it all recorded here so that we can share it with as many people as possible. If you have questions here as we go through this, you can reach out to me. My contact info is on another number of these slides. And you can always look me up on my website, firstclassmortgageservice.com. So everything today that we're going to talk about is HUD home specific. And what we're going to go over is a little bit about me. We'll talk a little bit about what a HUD home is and all the different programs and special financing options available for HUD homes. So a little bit about myself. Again, my website, firstclassmortgageservice.com. You can find me there. I've been doing this over 20 years now, so a long time, and been through the foreclosure debacle that happened a number of years ago, and now in this crazy market we're in dealing with all this. We've done a lot of smaller loans, and I'm out of Michigan, so we don't have big loan amounts, or our averages compared to other parts of the country are quite a bit smaller. So those of you listening in other areas, some of these loan amounts I mentioned and stuff might be a little boggling, this is our market and what we've dealt with. So currently number one in the company, and number one for renovation loans, which we're going to talk a lot about here during this presentation. In 2017 and 2018, and I put this bullet point on here really just to illustrate this point, because a lot of people think these cheaper houses or more affordable houses that need a little love just aren't obtainable. But in 2017 and 2018, I closed 85 loans under $75,000 and 31 loans under $50,000. So it is very, very doable to close the distressed properties and the smaller loan amounts and purchase prices and stuff. I've also been a property investor, and so those investors out there looking to buy HUD homes, I can help you as well, and I've got a lot of knowledge in that area. So what is a HUD home? A HUD home is a property that somebody took an FHA loan out on and subsequently got foreclosed on. So they didn't make their payments or whatever, and the house got foreclosed on. The lender takes them through that foreclosure process, and then basically what happens is HUD reimburses the lender for any losses. So if the person that got foreclosed on owed $100,000 and the house resold for $80,000, that $20,000 difference that was owed would be reimbursed to the lender by HUD. HUD then takes those houses and resells them. So these HUD homes are basically FHA foreclosures that are getting relisted for sale after the foreclosure process. Where do you find them? HUDHomestore.com. Simple as that. If you go to HUDHomestore.com, all the HUD homes out there that are available for sale will be listed on that website. One thing I just want to mention here, and this is a lot of this is for the realtors out there watching, but if we're going to get into the programs and stuff, and if you're already in the midst of one of these deals, trying to figure out a way to save it or whatever, and you need to change the financing, this is the form that HUD uses to change financing. So I put this on here just because I want to show you it is very feasible and easy to switch financing midstream if you need to. So what's the big problem with foreclosures out there? And a lot of people just don't want to mess with them. And what it comes down to most of the time is appraiser required repairs. And this is the case, with any house, but when somebody's purchasing a home, the lender sends the appraiser out, and the appraiser goes through the property, and if there's anything they feel is a health or safety issue, they can require it to be repaired as part of the transaction. And so the fear out there that realtors have when it comes to HUD homes and other foreclosures is that there's going to be these appraiser required repairs, and the bank, who's the seller, isn't going to be willing to fix them, and the deal's going to fall apart. I mean, that's what they're scared of. There's a lot of ways to still get those to closing, and that's what this presentation really is all about. There's another big myth out there that you can't ask for closing costs. 100% for sure with HUD, you can ask for closing costs. They will not do more than 3%. So 3% is their cap. But really, from what I've seen, all HUD cares about is how much they're netting. So if your $100,000 price with $3,000 in seller paid closing costs, HUD's netting $97,000. If that's the highest bid, and it meets what they're looking to get out of the property, then they will sign that. They do not really restrict people on those seller paid closing costs. It's more about that bottom line. Loan programs. So how do we finance these things? How do we actually do it? This is a general overview on Hud Homes and the different programs and how we handle each thing and what's available and stuff. And I have a printout of this. It's on my website, firstclassmortgageservice.com. But I call this a little cheat sheet basically, but it gives all the different details and ins and outs. We're going to get into a lot of this as we go through this presentation, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But this document is available on my website, firstclassmortgageservice.com. Okay, so loan programs, there's 4 major loan programs out there. You got conventional financing. That's kind of like your standard loan. You got FHA, and within that FHA bucket for HUD Homes, and remember, everything I'm showing you here is very specific for HUD Homes. There's a number of unique guidelines with them that make things a little bit easier. And in the case of FHA, most of the time you got the FHA 203B. That's like your standard FHA. The 203Ks of the renovation. And then for HUD Homes, they've got this repair escrow program as well. Rural development, that's programmed through the USDA. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then the VA is for veterans. All right, so conventional loans. A lot of people think that you don't get hit with repairs on conventional loans. That's simply not true. They definitely come up. They are more lenient. So usually with conventional, we're not seeing like peeling paint, getting called out, a cracked window, probably wouldn't get called out. The flip side is if there's a tarp on the roof, water in the basement, a missing window, that kind of stuff typically does get called out for conventional. But they are more lenient. We don't, most of the time we don't need the utilities on, so that's a plus with HUD, because it can be a hassle to turn the utilities on, and sometimes you just can't. And then we depends on the house and the situation, but sometimes we have to have the mortgage insurance company sign off on them. That's an added layer of hassle, I guess you'd call it. Not a huge deal, but worth noting. And then although the program itself allows for different seller concessions, again, it's a HUD home, so HUD's only going to do 3% seller paid closing costs. With the government loans, that's your FHAs, your RDs, your VAs, MISHDAs. We're going to get hit on health and safety issues on the repairs. The utilities must be on, but I kind of say, but I've got a workaround for that. And the workaround is if, like, let's say HUD will not let us turn the water on because they know there's a water leak. I can have we can have an inspection done by like a plumber in that example, and then work through the repairs the plumber's requiring so that we don't have to turn the water on. So it is required that it be on, but we have some ways to do it after the fact, after the house's ownership changes hands and they can turn the water on. There's going to be, again, a 3% closing cost cap because that's HUD's cap, not these loan programs. And I just want to mention with MISHDA, which MISHDA is a state of Michigan down payment assistance program, and the state will not allow for post-closing repairs. So if we do have repairs, basically we can't go MISHDA. Most of the time we're not doing MISHDA loans on these FHAs simply because of that. So why would somebody want to do, say, an FHA loan versus a conventional? It's all about the down payment. So let's say we got a $100,000 purchase price with $1,000 in repairs, required repairs. If we're doing conventional, so the buyer would have 5% down, that's 5,000, again, $100,000 price. They're going to have some closing costs, and I just kind of threw a number out there. This isn't specific to either loan program. This is going to vary depending on taxes, insurance, and all that. But we got some closing costs, and then you're going to have the repairs. Now with the repairs, we hold 1.5 times the amount of the bid. So if the bid's 1,000, we got to get 1,500 on the repairs. And then you got you can ask for seller paid closing costs. So assuming we ask for 3% seller paid closing costs, so you add these up, subtract that out. Bottom line is buyer needs $9,500 to complete the transaction. In the case of and I'm going to slide this out of the way if I can. So in the case of a HUD, an FHA loan, we'll do that $100 down. We got $4,500 in closing costs, same as the conventional side, and we can get some seller paid closing costs at 3%. And so and the repair escrow gets, I should say, this gets financed into the loan here. So what it amounts to is that the buyer only needs $3,100 at closing. So $3,100 at closing with the FHA versus $9,000. That is why people want to do FHA on these right there. It's all about the cash to close. And it's not a big deal to do the FHA. But we got repairs. That's what I always hear. We got repairs. We can't go FHA. No, we can go FHA, and this is how we do it. So when you got a HUD home, if you go on to that HUDHomestore.com, you're going to see something like this right here come up, this area. And so look for this box. This box right here is the key to telling you what can be done. And if we're doing conventional or VA, we can do a repair escrow and take care of the repairs, but the buyer's got to finance that. With RD, or not finance it, but they got to pay the repairs out of pocket. Well, not everybody can do that or wants to do that. With RD, we can finance them in if there's no livability issues and if the house appraises out for more. So whether or not that'll happen, it sometimes does, sometimes doesn't. If we're doing FHA, we've got the FHA insured escrow. So what this is telling you here is it's eligible for the insured escrow. So you'll see this box on HUD's website. If it's eligible for the insured escrow, we can throw in 10 grand worth of repairs. If it says uninsured right here, then we got to look and see if it's eligible via the 203K. Most of them will say yes. Assuming it says yes, it's uninsured because what they're doing is they're saying it's more than $10,000. So we switch it over to the FHA 203K and we finance the repairs in that way. So same thing here. If it's insured escrow, we get it. They get a bid, and it turns out it's more than $10,000. We'll switch it over to the 203K too. So, but when we're talking, do we do a 203B with a repair escrow or an FHA 203K? You got to look here, see if it's eligible for the repair escrow, and then you got to figure out how much it's going to cost. So, but that's what that's all about. And if you need help with this, just give me a holler. I'll help you out. So more on repair escrows. So the repair escrows, we're typically doing those when a buyer just wants the keys to the house and we're just trying to get the thing to pass the appraisal. And the way it works is we get the appraisal back and we get hit with this list of repairs from the appraiser. They'll be saying there's some water in the basement, fix that, or there's busted windows, or peeling paint, or missing light fixtures, or a plumbing leak, or whatever it is. We'll get the appraisal back and they'll have this list of repairs. Then the buyer gets a bid from a licensed and insured contractor to fix whatever is on that list. And with the repair escrow, we're only doing required repairs. So we're not doing all the I wants, we're doing the I have to's to get the thing to pass. And so the contractor will do up a bid for those required repairs. Kind of moving on here. With that bid, it cannot exceed 10,000. If it does, we got to switch to the 203K. The work's got to be complete in 90 days. Now we can do these repair escrows with FHA, RD, VA. We can do repair escrows on those. With the FHA financing, it's 90 days. And I'm talking Hud Home here. So usually with the Hud Homes, we're doing FHAs as opposed to like an RD because they do have that $100 down option. And we'll have 90 days to complete them. But if it's some other type of financing, we only got 2 weeks to get the repairs done. So I just want to be clear on that. If we go over 10,000, we got some other loan programs. If we need longer than this 90 days or 2 weeks, we have some other loan programs. But with the repair escrow, that's what we're looking at. So the buyer gets the bid from the contractor. We close. When we close on that loan, where the money comes from for the repair escrow really just depends on the program. So if it's FHA, we'll finance it in because it's a HUD home and it's a special program. If it's one of the other loan programs, most of the time the buyer's bringing in the money. So if we got 2,000 in repairs, the buyer's bringing that in. With rural development, if the house appraises for more, we can finance the repairs into the loan. But we won't know that until the appraisal's back. But if it appraises for more and there's no livability issues, we can finance them in. So we close, and then the contractor goes in there, they do the work. Again, how long they have to complete it depends on that loan program that we're doing. After the work's complete, we send the contractor back out, or the appraiser back out to the property. They verify everything's done, and then we pay the contractor. So that's the gist of the way that works. It's quick, easy, is the way, by design. The repair escrow is basically a regular FHA loan. With HUD Homes, you can't overbid. If you overbid, you got to bring in the difference. So you got to be careful on that. The workaround for that is we do a 203K renovation loan, which I'll talk about in a minute. We can do $100 down, and again, 10,000 in repairs. The process for this is there'll have some amounts on when you're submitting the bid, like as a realtor, when you're submitting the bid, there's some blanks on the contract. Just leave that blank. When we get the bid, we'll kind of complete that with that financing change form. And yeah, so that's the 203B with a repair escrow for this stuff here. Again, after we close, they got 90 days. If it's RD, they got 2 weeks. That's the big thing there. So what happens if the repairs exceed that 10,000, or what if there's just stuff the buyer wants to do, right? So maybe we got some peeling paint we have to do, but they want to redo the kitchen, or they want to redo a bathroom because they're old and nasty and outdated, or maybe they want to put an addition. There's no garage and they want to put a garage on the house. We can do that kind of stuff with these renovation loans I'm getting ready to talk about. So with the renovation program, there's a number of options and low down payment options with these as well. We have them available for all of our programs: FHA, VA, conventional, rural development as well. With the FHA 203K, so this would be for the most part, our go-to program because it's a HUD home and because we can do this with $100 down. But we can rehab stuff. We can do required repairs. You can actually move a house. It's a very, very flexible program. And again, $100 down on these HUD homes. There's two types of FHA 203Ks. Without getting too much into this, the limited is for your easier projects under 35,000, no structural stuff. This standard is going to be your stuff that exceeds 35,000 or has structural issues. The difference between these two is that the standard has to be reviewed by a HUD consultant, so there's some additional costs. That's really the main difference, is this one's going to cost a little bit more because a third party has to oversee the project. On the limited, this is just kind of a little more of a recap on some of this, but on the limited, eligible repairs, roof, gutters, downspouts, furnace, HVAC systems, AC, plumbing, electrical, flooring, all that kind of stuff. Ineligible type of stuff, moving a load-bearing wall, because that's structural. We can't do landscaping stuff with it, and the work's got to start within 30 days. So if they can't start in 30 days, this program's a problem. And then no luxury items, hot tubs, tennis courts, that kind of stuff. All right, so let's talk about the standard 203K program. So with the standard 203K, that's like your big one. So limited is your small stuff, standard's your big one. So this is where you can do things like additions to houses. We can do structural stuff like repairing termite damage or moving load-bearing walls, major remodel projects that are in excess of 35,000. We can do landscaping, tree removal, sidewalks, like pretty much anything goes with the standard program. So if we don't fit in the limited box, we move over to this one. Again, some examples here where we're just doing, we're doing the load-bearing walls, the termite stuff, structural basement stuff, where with the limited, we're doing your basic cosmetic stuff, more or less. And you can see kind of some sample lists there. All right, so VA renovation loan. So this is for all the veterans out there. And I was in the Marine Corps. I love doing these VA loans. Very few people know this about VA, but they do have a renovation program. It's all one loan. So it's not some separate deal that we're throwing on there with it. This is a true VA loan. It's got all the perks of VA, so no money down, no monthly mortgage insurance, and we can finance in renovations into the deal. With the VA program, so a few more details here. It's very similar to that limited program. So on that smaller FHA, it's more like that, where we can't go over 35,000 in renovations. It's got to be the stuff that's more cosmetic in nature. They won't let like structural repairs get done with it. It's really there because the VA knows their appraisers are a little bit more picky with repairs. And the beauty of this is they've got this program where we can fix most of those appraiser required repairs. The work does have to be done in 60 days. So again, that kind of goes back to they won't do a $100,000 renovation deal because there's no way it would be able to be done in 60 days. So yeah, we can do condos and manufactured homes and all that good stuff. So it's just like a regular VA, except we're allowed to finance in repairs into it. There's a conventional renovation program. So this is your standard loan, the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac stuff that's out there. But your conventional, typically we're doing conventional loans for people with good credit and some down payment. And that's really what this renovation piece is designed for as well. It works on 1 to 4 family primary residence, works on second homes. It works on investment properties. So investors can use this, but only 1 unit investment properties. We can't do the 2 to 3 unit investor rehab deals. 10% down is required, but we can get these approved as little as 5% down. Just kind of an exception I got to ask for. Gift funds are allowed, so we can do gifts for the down payment if we need to. The maximum renovation amount is a little bit different calculation on it. They take the sales price plus the renovation cost, and that gives you this total acquisition cost. And there's some caps involved with that, so it is a little bit different. If we're in a real low-priced home scenario, it's possible that could trip us up, but it's only tripped me up, once honestly. So very, very rarely. This is a good program, and this is, a lot of times this is, hey, I want to put an addition on. I want to do a $100,000 addition or something like that. Mortgage insurance is only required if it's less than 20% down. And the renovation amounts, I touched on this, but they can't exceed 50% of the after as completed value. So say the purchase price, well, say the house appraises at 100, the bid wouldn't be able to exceed 50. So if it was a $30,000 house that needed $60,000, $70,000 worth of work, this wouldn't work. I'd have to do a different loan program. But again, that very rarely trips us up on these. All right, Hud Homes and lead-based paint. So I'll bet you a lot of people watching this don't even know this, but HUD will test for lead-based paint. And when will they test for it? They'll test for it on FHA transactions. So if somebody is getting an FHA loan, any one of these 3 loan programs right here, if somebody's getting an FHA loan, they are going to test for lead, HUD is. If it's conventional VA, RD, HUD's not going to test for lead. When HUD does the lead test, they're going to send somebody out there at HUD's cost, and it usually takes a couple weeks, but we'll get this report in that'll give us all the areas that tested positive for lead. And you know, it might be clean where there's no lead, and then there's other times where there's lots of lead and everything in between. If the HUD when HUD gets the report back, they're going to get a quote to have the lead remediated. And what that means is basically they paint over it. So they're not going all the way through and removing all the old paint and all that. They're just really encapsulating it, making it safe, painting over it. If HUD gets that quote and the quote is less than $4,000, HUD, as the seller, will just pay to have the lead taken care of. Most of the time it's more than $4 grand, and I don't know if that's because the people doing the bids know they're bidding them out for the government or what the deal is, but very oftentimes the amount is more than. If the amount is more than $4,000, then HUD is going to say that the property cannot be financed on the 203B program or with the 203B repair escrow. So if we're doing a regular FHA, it pops with lead, it's less than $4,000, no problem, HUD takes care of it. It's more than $4,000, it falls apart. But we can save it simply by switching it over to an FHA 203K renovation loan and financing the lead remediation into the loan. When we do that, what basically happens is we're taking and switching it over to a renovation loan. So our borrower will get a quote to fix the lead, and let's say the quote's $6,000. So they get a quote from a painter to repaint the areas on the report that failed the lead test. We finance that $6,000 in, but HUD gives the buyer a credit of $4,000 towards it. So the net difference, we only end up financing in $2,000, which generally speaking is about $12 more a month on a house payment. But we finance that in and we close, and the lead's remediated after closing. So it's really no big deal. And I've seen it a bunch of times where HUD got a quote for, you know, $6,000, then our buyer gets a quote for $3,000 and gets a credit for $4,000 from HUD. And so a lot of times this lead can really work out in the buyer's favor. So again, if it pops with lead and we switch it to a 203K, customer gets a bid from a lead certified contractor. HUD gives them $4,000 credit towards that. We close, we finance it all in. House gets painted and cleaned up after closing. They'll do a new lead test, make sure it's clear, and then we're good to go. So no big deal. So that's kind of HUD Homes, and that's kind of what trips people up on these, and the stuff that really a lot of people just don't simply understand. You can see my contact info here, my website, firstclassmortgageservice.com. If you're a realtor watching this or a customer watching this, looking to buy a HUD home, or an investor looking to buy a HUD home, if you got any questions, just call me, text me, email me. This 488-9494 number is the best number to get a hold of me on. But I'm here to help. I'd love to help you out with any questions that you have. There's some of our sources where you can find some more info. All right, I'm Jeremy Drolbeck, firstclassmortgageservice.com.